So let's get started with the main news making the Celtic headlines this week. Anthony Joseph of Sky Sports has credited Barcelona with a strong interest in Josip Juranovic following his World Cup exploits, and they're the latest in a growing list of teams to be linked with him. The likes of Atletico Madrid, Man United and another unnamed Premier League club have all been mentioned in recent reports surrounding the 27-year-old. Juranovic's Croatia beat Morocco 2-1 to take third place in the World Cup, although Juranovic did sit that one out with a calf strain. Whatever happens though, it does look highly likely that we may have seen the last of him in a Celtic shirt. Hamish, what have you made of all the noise surrounding Juranovic? Is he a player you'd like to keep a hold of, or do you think now's the time to maximise the return we'll get?
This will probably come across really badly, but I'm struggling to care so much about the whole thing. I just, usually when, you know, a Celtic player is maybe on the verge of leaving the club, as people might say Juranovic is, I would be losing sleep over it. I've thought about it a lot because it's been, you know, a big topic of debate, especially when we've not been playing matches and he's been doing well at the World Cup. But yeah, I struggle to you know, I love Juranovic, but I struggle to worry too much either way. I think the fact we've got Johnson in is great news. We've already signed our replacement. He's in the building. He can't play until January, but he's in training with the team. Yep. And on top of that, we've got, you know, another international at the club, Anthony Ralston, who has probably been better than Juranovic this season. So if he stays, you know, brilliant. We get another 6 months of him. That's a positive for me. If he goes, you know, we get decent money. I think he's contracted until 2026, so that's a positive as well. That's the way I look at it. I don't see any negatives in it.
I think it's a very balanced opinion. That'll never take off, but
might not get invited back.
But you're right. You know, we're in a situation, Paddy. It's 1-1, and that's down to Celtic and how they've managed this. So he's a guy who came in the door at the start of last season, you know, at the same time as Ange. But we've managed the contract situation in such a way that Hamish is right. If he goes, it's not the end of the world by any stretch, and if he stays, equally not the end of the world. I mean, what's your own take? Do you think we've seen the last of him in a Celtic shirt?
Maybe not for this season. Obviously, it's looking very likely that he will leave in January. But if he was to stay, like Hamish said, if he was to stay to the end of the season, I'd be more than happy with that. I think he had an incredible first season for us. Definitely for me, he is the best right back at the club. I think that Ralston has been better than him this season. He's been very hot and cold, Juranovic. And maybe the World Cup coming up has been playing in his mind a little bit. You know, this could be the opportunity to put himself in the shop window for a bigger move. I definitely think that's one of the reasons he joined Celtic, was to make sure that he got himself into that Croatia team and made sure he was a starter. Seeing the likes of obviously Barisic being in and out the team with Croatia as well. So he knew that the level was right. I think his performances for us last season, especially in Europe, we seen how good he can be. But what we've not seen this season is consistency. So that for me has lessened the worry about losing him, because we've coped with the games without him when he's not been playing. And if he was to go, I'd still kind of feel all right. I kind of agree with what Hamish is saying, but I will be sad to see him leave, because I generally do think there's a love for the club and the fans. I read an article from him today basically stating that before the game on Saturday, he kept an eye on the result. He was watching the game on Saturday against Aberdeen. So, you know, there is that respect and you know, like love for his teammates, love for the club, love for the fans. So if he goes with well wishes, in my opinion.
Yeah, definitely. I wonder if he was cutting about Qatar looking for the Doha CSC somewhere to catch Saturday's game. But no, it's an interesting one, because you can imagine the headspace he must have been in before that World Cup. The last thing you want as a 27-year-old is to get injured ahead of the greatest show on earth and all that kind of stuff. And it's a risky one, because I don't doubt his commitment to Celtic. I think he's wholehearted as a player, but he's been off the boil, and maybe there's a few things on his mind between the World Cup, what the next big move might be and stuff. So you can, to a huge extent, understand his position. But I think I'm in agreement with you lads that, you know, either or is good for us. We'll either cash in on him, or we'll get another 6 months at least, and we can see where it goes. James Forrest's assist on Saturday has seen him join an elite club at Celtic of just 3 players in our history to register 100 assists and 100 goals. He joins no less than Jimmy Johnson and Henrik Larsson with that incredible achievement, and it's an incredible return by the Celtic Academy graduate. As we already know, his recent hat-trick against Hibs ensured that he'd scored league goals in 14 straight seasons, which is equally phenomenal as a record. Paddy, you're a big fan of Jamesy, I know you are. Are you pleased to see him continue to prove the doubters wrong?
Yeah, and I just think, you know, I had him written off myself at the start of this season. I was surprised he got the 3-year deal, and I was a bit more of the opinion it was going to be a bit of a bit part player for us this year.
Et tu, Brute?
Aye, just a bit. But to his credit, you know, he's been very important for us this season, and especially clawing away from Rangers and making sure that we build this lead. We're not even at the halfway mark. That's the thing. And it's just been important parts of his play that has helped us get to this stage. And that just shows you he's there. He's always going to be there for this team and give 100% in every game.
Yeah, I was a wee bit flippant, Hamish. We done the post-match after the game on Saturday, and I was saying, yeah, it was an assist, but listen, all he done was lay it off, and Callum McGregor done the heavy lifting. But I think I was actually doing him a disservice, because he's brought the ball into the middle of the park, dragging an Aberdeen defender with him, and it's the kind of lay-off behind him that puts the ball into that space for McGregor, who all of a sudden finds himself with 3, 4, 5 yards to get the shot away. And he's absolutely played his part in getting us a really important 3 points, and credit to him. What's your own take on him? A lot of fans do find him frustrating at times. Are you a fan?
Prestwick's second greatest
Oh my goodness, I was forgetting the Ayrshire connection.
I've always loved James Forrest all of the way through. I kind of knew him a wee bit when he was just kind of breaking into the Celtic squad, and just a really humble guy. You can probably tell that. I mean, I don't know how many of our players aren't on social media at all. You never see James Forrest on Twitter, Instagram, anything like that. And from what I'm led to believe, and hearing things, that he's very quiet as well when he's out and about. Doesn't really kind of show off too much. Isn't kind of caught anywhere really. And on the pitch, I think what he's done, has been amazing for Celtic. He gives us really big moments. He's always been about moments. Mm-hmm. James Forrest's general performance, some weeks you look at him and he doesn't do a great deal, maybe frustrates some people, but it's about the big moments. And when he scored that 100th goal, whatever it was, a couple of months ago against Hibs, all the compilations came out, and the amount of big goals he scored for Celtic is remarkable. Really big goals that you forget about in games, European games, domestic games. And, I dare say, without having looked at all the assists, I dare say there's a lot of huge assists, even maybe ones like the weekend, you don't necessarily remember that it's James Forrest that set it up. But I agree totally. I mean, that position that McGregor got into with that shot, we hadn't really had that the whole game, really, that real opportunity to get a shot away, and it was because Forrest dragged the Aberdeen player with him and then kind of flicked it behind him. So, no, I love him.
Yeah, absolutely. You talk about the various big goals. You're absolutely right. Big moments. Even last season, I think the semi-final of the League Cup, he scored a big one against St Johnstone to get us to the final. I remember a goal he scored against Shakhtar Karagandhi. Yep. I'm sure it must have been 10 years ago. Must have been about 2012, 13 maybe, to qualify us for the Champions League. I think we'd lost the first leg 2-0. We got into the second leg at Celtic Park. We'd got ourselves back to 2-0, 2 each on aggregate. I think maybe Chris Commons scored, maybe Van Dijk, can't remember. But James Forrest pops up with a really great finish from an Anthony Stokes cutback, if I remember rightly. Mm-hmm. Best part of 10 years ago, and he's still doing it. So all credit to him for his longevity.
You ready for a ridiculous shout? So he's getting on, obviously. Got a good few years left in him. His legs aren't always going to be there. Do you see him moving into that kind of 10 role at any stage? I think he's got the ability to do it.
See for just his range of passing and for how quick he is.
Awareness.
I could see that, absolutely, and I wouldn't be surprised if that's something he's been told to start thinking about. Because he's not going to have those legs all the time, and he's definitely still got it about him to beat a man. He's seen it a couple of times on Saturday, but he's not going to do that for 90 minutes. But yeah, I could see him definitely trying something like that.
I think that's really interesting. I've never thought of him as anything but a winger, and I've never even considered what he might do, but he's talented enough. You can't be at Celtic and scoring for 14 seasons consecutively unless you're a very talented footballer. So it'll be very interesting to watch the continuing progress of James Forrest and see what he does over the next couple of years. Another Celtic Academy graduate has been linked with a move away from the club, with Porto reported to be interested in Stephen Welsh. The 22-year-old centre-half has made just 6 starts this season and may find himself even further down the pecking order following the arrival of Yuki Kobayashi. Celtic are said to have knocked back offers from both Udinese and Toulouse for him this year, and it remains to be seen whether Ange is keen for Welsh to remain at the club. He turns 23 in January, Hamish, and he's contracted until 2025. What's your general opinion on him, though? Do you think he's got a future at the club?
I've got my doubts. What you're looking at our centre-backs at the moment, he's 4th choice at best. There's maybe even an argument with Kobayashi coming in. I know that's Ange just commented on his introduction being gradual to the team. We're not going to see him starting games anytime soon, but I think he'll play between now and the end of the season, especially if we have a big lead in the league. So is Welsh is Kobayashi going to play instead of Welsh? Is that kind of fourth option? So then he's maybe down to fifth. Do we need a fifth choice centre back at Celtic? What does Stephen Welsh want to do? Does he then think he wants to move?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it might come down to the man himself, because Stephen Welsh, born and bred Celtic fan, Coatbridge, your part of the world, Paddy, he clearly loves Celtic, but he's also got a responsibility to himself in his professional career. And does he want to be a bit part player? I don't think he's the kind of young guy that does.
No, I don't think he'll want to sit in the sidelines. But having said that, he's had many an opportunity to try and stake a claim in the team, and I just don't think he's taken it, to be honest. I will be sad to see him leave, because I really did have high hopes for him, but I just don't think he's at the level required for our team.
I thought the whole Coatbridge Airdrie thing might have got you on side with
there's a rivalry
there,
there,
but
there's a rivalry.
You've absolutely binned the guy there. I mean, he's yet to receive a senior cap for Scotland, although he does have a number of caps at youth level, and he captained the 21, so he's well respected in this part of the world. But do you think to progress, Paddy, or for Celtic to progress in Europe, as Ange is clearly keen to do so, we maybe need a bit better than Stephen Welsh?
Yeah, I really do. I think back to the game in Leipzig, and albeit him and Jens dealt with any long ball that was coming into the box, there was just too many points for the type of football that we were trying to play. It was just spreading doubt between the rest of the players, and it leads to bad kick-outs for Joe Hart, stuff like that. There wasn't any trust in the back line at all. Just a bit of complacency in his performance and just not switched on enough. Same goes for Jens in that game as well, in my opinion. But anything, he does deal with balls coming into the box very, very well, Welsh, but at other points I just feel for that ball playing kind of defender that we need at Celtic, he's not at that level for me.
Yeah. He's got a wee bit of a goal threat in him. He opened the scoring against Aberdeen. He's got a wee bit of that in his locker. As I say to him, he's not 23 till next month, till January. Do you think he's maybe still got a bit of progress to go, and maybe he'll improve under Ange?
Yeah, I mean, that's the question for me. How much potential is there? And I think Ange believes there's a fair bit, because we've kind of knocked back this interest in the past from Toulouse and Udinese. But I mean, you look at the age, and it's not really young, is it? And Carter Vickers is probably younger than him. Jens is potentially younger than him as well. Kobayashi certainly is. I think, actually, I'm not 100% sure now, but it's not as if he's the young one out of the five. And I would argue, I think Stephen Welsh does have his attributes, but I would argue maybe in terms of the things you would look for, in terms of ball playing ability, pace on the turn, that his fellow centre backs probably have that more. And I think it's going to be Carter Vickers and someone else, I think, for the Celtic team. And I think the whole Kobayashi being a left-sided defender is very interesting. Ange keeps mentioning that, so I think he's who he sees as a kind of partner for Carter Vickers in this Celtic team to come. I'm not sure if Welsh fits into that. Yeah,
I think you may well be right, but I do also think that it may well come down to the player himself and what ambition he has, because I do think he'll have an option to stay at Celtic should he choose to do so. But likewise, there'll be offers that come in and he'll have that stick or twist move, particularly if he's got international aspirations. He needs to be playing games at this age in his career. So
it's good clubs that are in for him as well.
Absolutely.
Clubs.
And the fact that Porto have been linked, we don't know at this moment how much truth there is in that, but Udinese, Toulouse, as we've mentioned. So he's clearly a guy that shows up in the various scouting reports, and I'd be pleased to see him do well, whether it's at Celtic or elsewhere. He seems a good lad, and good luck to him. It's going to be an interesting January either way, though, with lots of guys coming in and out, so we'll very much keep a close eye on that space.